I always say too, there's two sides to the space. You can kind of choose to sit behind your computer and go to your 9 to 5 and, work at whatever agency. But I knew that like I kind of wanted to be a voice for other young Black women that were looking to get into this space. And so I wanted to kind of take that step further and kind of share everything that I do on social media. And so that creativity has really landed me so many more opportunities. And so I'm grateful for it. And I definitely, urge other women to sort of step into their creativity and their creative bag, because you never know where it can take you.
Right. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the First Gems podcast. I'm your host for today, Tanina, and we got our TFG crew missing Anna, but I'll just let them run it back and do the intros, and then we'll save our special guest for last.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Kalaria.
And I'm Jada.
And we have Takyrah Jones joining us today. You may know her on TikTok as Takyrah J. Takyrah is a seasoned publicist and marketer, and she's worked with some of your favorite brands, your favorite influencers. We'll definitely get into the talk later on today so that you can get to know her more. You already know how we like to do it here. We like to start off with a icebreaker just so that we can get into the conversation and you guys can get to know us a little bit more, and then we will walk through Takyrah's journey, and she's going to drop some gems for us. So icebreaker for today is, I wanted to make it something kind of like related to like TV personalities. So if you were casted for a reality TV show, which reality TV show would it be?
Oh my God. This is kind of hard because like I'm so not athletic. Like I would love to go on a show like The Challenge or like Amazing Race with my husband or something, but I'm like, I would literally be humiliating myself on TV. Yeah, no. Oh my gosh, this is hard. And I love reality TV. I'm trying to think. Oh my gosh, I would want to be like on like Are You the One or something, but I want to be like the host. Like any sort of show where I could be like the host of like a love show. I love. Or like Real Housewives, but like in 10 years.
I love that.
Yeah.
That one. I would say Stella and Sunset. I love like, I mean, I know a lot of it's fake, but I love like the fashion aspect of it. I love the homes, like I love the money. Like it's just like a whole vibe, like the lifestyle and stuff. So yeah, if I could, be one of the agents at Offenheim Group, like give me
I love it.
Well, the only thing that really comes to like the top of my mind, I recently discovered this new reality show. It's called Eat, Slay, Love. And it was with Nivea, and she took like her friends on like a group trip to, I think it wasn't Japan. It was somewhere in Asia. And that looked really cool. So I was like, I would definitely do that. Because I love traveling. I love like experiencing new cultures and, being immersed in like activities and like experiences. So I think I would do like a travel reality show for sure.
Oh, I love that. That's very fitting for you for sure. This is hard because I feel like I have like an extroverted personality, but I don't really like people in my business. But I would say I'm such a lover girl that I would be on a love show. And probably would be, you say, yeah. I probably would be on Love is Blind, to be honest. Like I knew you were gonna say
That's the show I was thinking of for her.
See, dang, am I that predictable? Like I would be on something like Love is Blind. I think it would just scare me for people to be in my personal business, but I don't know. I just believe in love so much, and if if it's not working out, me doing it on my own, then maybe if I like go on a show or something like that, that would be fun. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Y'all gave very, very good answers. and hope maybe one day there'll be a show and one of you guys will be on it. And Takaya, I could definitely see you being a host on a very prominent reality TV show.
Oh my gosh, I would like die if I ever got to be on Housewives. I love Housewives.
Me
Yes,
too.
that I can see that for sure. But yeah, thank you again for joining us. And just to get, I would love to let the viewers know more about your background and what you do. I personally know you off of TikTok and your infamous PR Diary series, and how you just explain and come up with creative ideas for notable influencers and celebrities. And it has definitely caught attention from many people on TikTok. So I'd love to know how you got into that and how you got into PR and just your journey in general.
Yeah, so I studied PR in college, but even before picking my major, I mean, I had no clue what like PR was or public relations was or marketing. I went into college and I was like, well, I like to talk, so I'm going to go into communications. Didn't have any sort of connectivity. I just knew that I was like a social butterfly. And so I went into college, I took a PR course and like immediately fell in love with just the storytelling aspect of it and also just having the opportunity to kind of be creative. And so from there, I immediately knew being like a woman of color in this space and being a Black woman, I had to diversify my resume as much as possible and start as early as possible. And so, all throughout my college career, I was interning and working at different agencies and networking. And by the time that I graduated college, I was working at the lead company, a really cool, prominent agency. They have offices in LA as well as New York City. And they were kind of like my starting ground. And from there, I went on to work at Vita Coco. And then during my time at Vita Coco was where I got the idea to create my social media profile on TikTok, and share these ideas. And I was inspired initially by another creator on the app. She was doing PR moves for creators and influencers, celebrities, but I just felt like she wasn't really touching on the creators that were pushing the trends in the app forward. So, in my opinion, I really felt like these were the sort of creators that needed to be talked about. And so I kind of took it upon myself to start creating that content for them and for people of color. And it really just like took off and just landed me so many, opportunities that I've been able to take part in now.
I love that. I love that. I'm
Oh.
very inspired by like people who fall into careers or paths that just seem like destiny. And even
Mhm.
just knowing you for this short amount of time and seeing your, and I said PR diaries, I meant PR moves, on TikTok, it just seems like you were meant to do that and be in this industry and be in this field. So that's super inspiring for sure. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Could you maybe explain a little bit of the difference between PR and marketing? Because I know that they're like closely linked, but there's some like nuances that people might not really understand.
Yeah. So, at least in my experience, when I've been a publicist, I've been representing, I've worked on the brand side, but also the talent side. But I like to put it like this: I've really just helped brands or clients secure news coverage. So, kind of, different like publication opportunities, like having clients featured in Vanity Fair or Couture, things like that. Marketing has really been how I've pushed a product or a client to consumers. And so, in one hand, in PR, you're kind of selling the client or brand to a publication. In marketing, you're selling the client or brand to consumers. That's kind of how I like to think about it.
Got
Oh,
it.
cool.
Yeah.
What are like a few of your favorite brands that you've worked with so far, or projects that you worked on?
Yeah. So I mean, I spent almost 3 years at Vita Coco, so that was a huge chunk of my professional career. But I also got to work at Mario Badescu. I just naturally have a passion for beauty brands, but also impact brands, brands with a mission. And so I've really just been really intentional about the next step that I take in my career, where I sort of see myself, because now I've been sort of playing in the talent agency realm. So working at agencies like Kensington Gray and the Dime Agency, strategizing for literally some of my favorite creators online, like Gloria and DeAndre Brown and Bria Jones, Aaliyah's Interlude, and so many more. Like, I can't even believe that I've had the opportunity to strategize for them. But that's been a really fun experience as well, just kind of gaining that experience cross functionally, now working in PR, marketing, and strategy sectors. But definitely for that next step in my career, I'm, kind of leaning more towards working with a brand. Specifically, I would love to work for a beauty brand and a brand with a really strong impact and messaging. And so we'll see what happens next. Some things are in the pipeline, but yeah, just kind of being more intentional about that next step that I want to really take in my professional career.
I love that. I love that. And what would you say is the pathway for someone who wants to get in PR, whether they're in college and graduating or they're doing some type of career pivot?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice has always been to create your own opportunities. First and foremost, when wanting to get into the space, I would say internships have been a huge part of how I was able to kind of gain that on-site real experience in the industry. But also sometimes when those opportunities weren't presented, I really leaned on creating my own opportunities. And so reaching out to any sort of professional PR pros that I looked up to or saw online, and I'd reach out and say, hey, do you need an intern? Can I shadow you? Even if it's for a week, like I'd love to just kind of see what a day in your life looks like. And you'd be surprised at how many people are needing and wanting the help, especially in PR. And so create those opportunities for yourself. And even if that's like going to your local pizzeria and asking like, hey, I'd love to do some free PR for you to just kind of like sharpen my skills. Like, are you up? Are you down for it? That's a great way to just sort of gain that experience. And so don't be afraid to reach out and go for those opportunities because they definitely have paid off for me.
I love that. I love that. And that sounds like very adjacent to like that sounds like hustling pretty much. Like, do you think that like you because you're a New York native, right?
Yeah, I am. Born and raised New York.
I love that. I love it. I love New Yorkers. Y'all so real. Yeah. Do you think that influenced how you approached your career, just being from New York, the hustle and bustle, and just everybody just going and getting it every day? Yeah.
Yeah, I think being born and raised in New York, you're kind of taught like grind culture very early on. Everyone here is like so talented, so creative, so smart. The city really just like burst with inspiration. And so it's definitely inspired my consumer first approach in that in any PR or marketing idea I come up with, I always like to think of how this meets consumers where they are. Is it relatable? And how are we telling that story? And I think just like when you're in New York City, it's a melting pot of different cultures and people. And so how are you not learning from what another person is going through? And so I just like to keep those ideals at the forefront of everything that I do.
I also wanted to bring it back to your Puerto Rican roots too. I know I've seen some of your content, and you made a mention of your grandmother growing up in Puerto Rico. Has that influenced you at all, just in your like your mindset, or just how you view like cultures and just potential branding opportunities?
Yeah, my grandmother has inspired me in every single way. I mean, she is just such an independent woman. She came to New York City from Puerto Rico with her four kids, didn't know the language, still doesn't speak English till this day, and really created such a beautiful life for all of us here. It's funny because in that video, I accredited like naming my daughter after my grandmother by just flipping the spelling. I'm not sure if you guys were able to see the video, but my grandmother's name is Irma. And my mom gave me my grandmother's name as my middle name. So my name is Takyrah Irma. And I was thinking of ways to keep the name going when I was pregnant with my daughter. And so I decided to flip the spelling and name my daughter Amri, Amri, which is Irma backwards. And so it really, for like my family, it was really meaningful. I mean, it was like taking everything that my grandmother's been through and turning it around. And so Amory is like her biggest dream. Like Amory's life is what she only dreamt of when first making her way to New York City. So it's so meaningful. And again, just the person that she is, she's persevered through so many challenges, extremely independent, extremely strong, and just really hardworking. And so those morals were really pumped into my sister and I as children. And my grandmother, partially raising us. My mom was a single mom. So we really leaned on each other as women. And so, yeah, I think of her in everything that I do, and her sort of fire and passion is in me. And I think, that's what sort of furthered me even wanting that in my daughter and naming her after her.
That's so beautiful. I love
Thank
that. And the name is gorgeous. I love that.
Thank you.
How do you find, how do you balance being a mom and a wife and all of that? Like, do you take time for yourself at all? Self
Yeah.
care routine?
Yeah. I mean, I feel really lucky that I was able to work from home while I was pregnant, and social media has, definitely given me that opportunity. Working with agencies, like I said, Kensington Gray and the Dime Agency, I'm able to do all of those strategy calls online. So I was able to kind of, lean on my social media profession to be able to be at home and just nurture and care for myself during that time in my life, while also still just not getting myself bored because I'm kind of a workaholic and I need to be doing something all the time. But in terms of balancing it, I've just been taking it day by day. And so again, I'm really grateful that I'm able to work at home, and I work with amazing agencies, that are, willing to work with my schedule and schedule calls whenever I'm up for them. But yeah, it's every day taking it day by day. And that's why I mentioned, like, now kind of thinking of what steps I want to take forward. I want to be really intentional about this next phase in my career. And so, yeah, she definitely has inspired me since, she's been born to just really find what drives me in the space and follow that passion.
I love that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, well, as I was scrubbing through some of your most recent content too, what I found interesting was in one of your now actually PR diaries, you mentioned how demanding that the PR field can be. Like, people can
Mhm.
call you at 3 a.m. to handle a crisis. So, do you have any of those juicy crisis management stories? And does that ever happen to you where you get called in the middle of the night or?
Yes, it's
Wow.
definitely happened. I mean, those things it's kind of scary, those 3 a.m. calls or those crazy calls. It'll usually be like a client maybe posted something or is maybe having, some words with a brand, things like that totally happen. I mean, the best thing to do in those moments is just like keep your client calm and, keep them off social media and try to regroup in the morning with a strategy plan. But it definitely is real. It definitely happens. And so I think with the PR diaries, I really just wanted to share with other young women the highs and lows of the industry and kind of share what happens behind the scenes. I remember being in college and wishing that I had someone to sort of look to as to, how do you work with a client? What happens when working on a campaign or a project? How do you even learn how to network with other PR professionals in the space? And so that's really what birthed the PR diaries, is wanting to share that layer with other young women wanting to get into the space. And again, the space doesn't have as many women of color, Black women, talking about these things, but also just working in the industry. And so, I feel really honored to be that voice for so many other women that are looking to get into the space, and to just hear that, this is inspiring them and motivating them to follow their, dreams and passion of being in PR and marketing, has really been amazing.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, and you mentioned a good point about like the news cycle is 24/7. So like I think a lot of people don't realize like just how demanding is PR is for, your life, and you need to be able to set those boundaries. Because
Yeah.
yeah, just because it's Saturday doesn't mean this news story about XYZ isn't gonna drop. Like
Yeah.
the world is spinning 24/7 in PR. This is kind of like a random, like juicy, like idea I just thought of. But if you were to maybe like look at P. Diddy, for example, and like some of the PR that has been happening around his case. I know that like crisis isn't like your main focus,
Yeah.
but just like kind of looking at like what's been happening with like his case, would you like do anything differently with
Oh
how
my
things
God.
are going?
There's certain situations as a publicist or a marketer that like you just don't want to touch. And I think that it's good to be able to say like no, like you kind of have to know what opportunities make sense for you and which don't. I've never really specialized in crisis comm. I've helped like creators, friends, some people in the industry with certain situations, but never anything serious or heavy like that. So I wouldn't even know where to start with that. And I think that's okay. Like, I need to know my strengths. I need to know my weaknesses.
Boundaries.
Situations like that, leave your girl out. I'm like, I wouldn't even know how to help that man. And I don't even think help is the right word for that. The law needs to take full accountability.
Yeah. Well, that's very
What do
real.
you think about like say for instance, like a celebrity, they'll tweet something out or they'll post something, and then before you know it, they're like, I got hacked. Is that like a cop out? Is that like a PR stunt too? Like,
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it definitely is. And I think that's where teams will step in and be like, now you have to say you got hacked because this is just insane. And you're going to, lose opportunities. That's the thing too, is like, I even spoke about it in the video. There are times that your client may choose not to take your advice and it can completely hurt their strategy. But as a publicist, you kind of have to keep your wheels turning and thinking of, every option. And sometimes that's just part of the job, is having to assist in some of the bad behaviors or negativity that your client is a part of or associated with. And so, again, I always kind of like to approach it like this when working with a client, like, help me, help you. We can only help each other. And so the more that we're able to lean on each other, be honest with each other, the more successful, your strategy will be, or the more easy this will be. And I've had plenty of times too that I've walked away from a client, and I think that that's okay. Like, if I'm, able to say like, hey, this isn't really going the way that I would have liked, and I think that I can no longer help you, I have no problem knowing when to sort of step back and say, hey, I don't think I can help you any further in this situation. And that's just a part of the industry and just a part of the game. But yeah, building that relationship with your client and being able to sort of have other lean on each other as a friend, but obviously you're thinking a lot more strategically than a normal friend, is definitely key in navigating some of those situations, because they can be very vulnerable for the client. And of course, you only want to help them.
Yeah. And I want to piggyback off of that too, because from the outside looking in, as viewers, we're like, is this a PR stunt? Especially in dating. Are there ever like strategies where it's like, oh, date this person for that'll be good for your image? Is that a thing, or are we like all making it up?
No, it's 100% a thing. Like, I mean, did you guys see when it was like Central C and Ice Spice were dating? They were
Oh
never dating.
yeah.
They were never dating. Like, that was even, and like, even I think his actual girlfriend, Madeline, was saying how she was so upset. Like, if you guys are able to read in between the lines, those are all completely just like teams talking to each other and getting upset that you didn't notify my team that you were going to be doing this PR stunt with this celebrity. And you know what I'm saying? So if you read in between the lines, you'll be able to tell. And I think that people have gotten a lot better at like catching that tea, like knowing when things aren't real. So yeah, I don't know if they exactly work anymore in terms of pushing forward, like in terms of like marketing, like if you're gonna push a new song or something like that. Like, I don't really know if it worked, because it was easy to kind of tell that it was fake and it was just for the video. But it starts conversation, and I think that that's what people are going for more these days anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you think all publicity is good publicity, like even if it's negative or like lies? But your name is getting talked about and like there's conversation happening. So
no, I don't believe in that at all. Like, I think some publicity is really bad publicity. And like, I think that that's okay. Like, I feel like that needs to be talked about more, like knowing what situations you should just stay away from. Like, why not stay away from them? Why not cause the drama? Why do you want to be a part of the drama? But I think, again, every celebrity or influencer has a different strategy for how they want to tailor their career. And so, it is what it is.
Wow. In that regard, would you say it's easier to work with a brand in their PR team, or an actual individual or a personality?
Um, Yeah, I would say maybe it's a little bit easier to work with a brand just because they kind of have their own brand story and mission. And so you kind of just need to stay aligned with the brand tone of voice and the brand marketing. A lot of times when you're kind of working on a PR lens with a brand, they have a full supplied marketing team that has already kind of like built out the strategy of who the brand is, how they speak to their consumers. But it doesn't mean that their PR story shouldn't meet consumers where they are. I definitely worked at brands where, they've been ideating on a piece of content or coming up with a campaign that I'm like, hey, read the room. Like, a ton of like consumers aren't going to relate with this. And you have to be able to say that, right? And also support why you're saying it. And so it's a little bit easier to work with a brand that already kind of has its own roadmap. Whereas a client, you can't always really control what they want to do or say. And I don't think you should. But it's a little bit easier in that sense to kind of follow the brand story and just be able to like kind of pulse check a brand and say, hey, this makes sense or this doesn't.
Yeah. I like it. So, to lighten it up a little bit, what would you say is some of your favorite PR campaigns? And it could be something recent, it could be something older, just something that was like, wow, genius, chef's kiss.
Yeah. Oh, let me think of one. Oh, so when the Barbie movie was debuting and they made like that AI selfie generator where like you got to improve yourself as like Barbie, you got to put yourself in the story. I really liked that one because I still feel like AI is like a new marketing technique and brands and companies are trying to figure out how they can use the technology to develop marketing efforts. And so I love whenever like brands are willing to like take a risk on something new. But I feel like once we actually got to watch the movie and it was like this deeper messaging of how we're all like Barbie in a sense, right? And have a piece of Barbie with us. I really liked how it tied back to like the campaign and we were able to input ourselves into the story. I love a good storyline. I love a good campaign that comes around 360. And so that was definitely one of my favorites to sort of see on social. And I also like that it wasn't pushed on influencers. It kind of took a mind of its own, and the influencer marketing came sort of after, where we had celebrities like Rihanna taking part in it, and Pedro Pascal, I think, also took a part of it. So yeah, I like when it doesn't feel forced, it feels authentic, and it just like naturally catches on as a trend.
Yeah, the whole Barbie campaign, everything, I was like, oh my God, this is my childhood just exploded into 2024 and I love it, like, or 2023. Great. Like, I definitely loved everything Barbie that was going on, and even the movie
Yeah.
has a different message that resonated with so many women. Was great
Yeah.
too. I love that. And I would say you have a lot of great ideas on PR moves, and I'm sure you've come across some celebrities or brands actually carrying out your ideas, whether it originated from your TikTok, which it probably did, or not.
Yeah.
So what has
Mhm.
been some of those moments where you've ideated a concept and then you're like, oh, it's reality now?
Yeah, I would say like it's really funny because that's actually how I was able to get that opportunity with Kensington Gray. I was already sharing so many ideas for their creators on social. And so I got the opportunity when they reached out and they were like, hey, we'd love to kind of have someone in house to do this for our creators. And it's been really fun even thinking about how those ideas can sort of come to life. And so there's been fun opportunities like that where I've been able to talk to some of the people that I'm creating these videos for one-on-one and ideate on execution as well, because doing this in my professional career, I also get to think out those steps, right? But I don't always get to kind of show that in my videos. I just share like one or two quick ideas. but yeah, it's a funny situation sometimes when, you know, those ideas come back around and you see a celebrity or an influencer maybe, you know, taking bits and pieces of it and using it. I always know when posting a video that it can be taken. And so it's never with a heavy heart if I see it. Like, I'm putting it out into the universe. If someone takes it, whatever. There's so many other steps that go into actually executing things like this, and some of the ideas that I share. So I always feel like one video doesn't showcase the entire marketing concept. It just shows a taste. And so I never take it personal. I'm actually flattered. It'd be an honor to actually, you know, work on some of these things, but you never know. And I'm able to kind of talk with a lot of these influencers and creators now. So you never know what's in the pipeline.
That's so cool. I wanted to ask, like, I feel like I'm a very creative person and I have to get like into my whole like little creative space.
Yeah.
So do you have like a special space or like a routine that you do to kind of get into the mindset to get, you know, some creative ideas flowing? Like, how do you get into that mindset where you're
Yeah,
kind
I
of.
honestly have to be inspired by whatever's going on social. Like, I'm actually like this on my phone all day. Like, just like getting new ideas, seeing what people are talking about. And I'm consistently writing down everything in my notes. And so I don't really know if there's like an exact process that I go through. Um, I don't know if there's an exact process that I go through. I'm just like, if you look at my notes app, I just have tons of things written down. And I feel like whenever I'm feeling like, okay, I want to post a new video, I kind of just like look in there, see what I've written down, try to grab inspiration from what's on, our For You pages, what are people talking about? And I kind of go from there. But yeah, that's kind of how I grab sort of inspiration, is just like, what's the now? And I also try to share ideas that I feel could actually happen. I never like to do anything that is like way too far fetched. Like I said, I think about everything with like a consumer lens view. And so if the creator influencer that I'm talking about wants to do something tomorrow, like, could they actually do this? Is kind of my mindset.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Well, do you ever find time to take social media breaks? Like, does it ever become overwhelming, or are you just like, this is what I do, I have to be in here?
Yeah. As a mom, I'm like forced to take breaks because she takes up all my time these days. I feel like I'm definitely not as consistent as I should be. But again, I think when you do this in your professional day to day, my 9 to 5, and then after work, I'm, creating videos. Like, I just really like live in this sphere. So I have to take time for myself. And I really just look at social media like a digital portfolio of mine. I just allow myself to sort of have fun and allow myself to be creative on there. Sometimes I just post and I just close the app and don't think about it. And there's other times too where, not all of my ideas are loved. Sometimes I get, really crazy comments, and people may misconstrue a video a certain type of way, but I know that my intentions are always clear and always, I always have really good intent behind my ideas and my videos. And so as long as I stay true to myself, I feel like I'm able to give myself a little bit more grace with whatever happens online and just try not to take it personal. But my daughter definitely forces me to take those breaks. And I'm grateful for that, because again, like doing it in my day to day and then after work, you can definitely overconsume. And so I'm happy for those moments where I just get to chill at home and not look at my phone.
Awesome. We talked about your come up into PR, tips for people who want to get into PR. We talked about your culture and family. In terms of your community, because you're building an online presence through TikTok, do you have some type of avenue? I think I saw something about an in-person community that you're building. Is that the My Plus One? Is that your yeah, can you share more about that? I thought that was really cool. And especially in adulting and making friends and finding community. I was curious to learn more about that.
Yeah, it's my new social group that I co-founded with my two friends, Takyrah Audrey. She works in influencer marketing and social media. She was previously an editor at BET. And then my other friend, Sandy Pierre, she works at Refinery 29's Unbothered. And we were literally each other's plus ones to different events, keeping each other in the loop, and became real friends outside of just, being girls in the industry. And so we just kept ideating on how we could create a community for more Black women in the space to connect. And so My Plus One was born. We had our first event in partnership and sponsored by Bel Air. And it was really fun. We, really just encouraged the girlies to make connections, learn something new about each other, and leave with a new plus one. And so that's the idea, is that like you're able to take your industry friends to these events, have someone to sort of lean on, but also not allow like your plus one to hinder you from making new connections. And so we ask the girls to bring a plus one with them, but make another plus one, throughout the event. And so you leave with another connection.
I love
that. Is so cool.
I love that.
Yeah. Because usually, like, when we go to events, I'm like, Tanina, don't leave me. Yeah, we're so, like, stuck to each other. Yeah. But that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, you were saying something, Takyrah?
Oh, no, I was just going to say exactly. Like, we gave the girls, like, prompt starters. So it's like, go to the other room and, like, find someone else that lives in the same borough as you, or things like that, so they could feel motivated. Because when you go to an event with your plus one, you usually like will lean on them, but it's just to kind of encourage, breaking out of that. And so you both can leave with a new plus one.
Yeah, that's I cool. love that, especially in like intentional networking, because there's so many networking events and clubs that like market themselves as like, oh, come network, and then you get there and it's like, okay, you're just eating food, and then you stick with the person you came with, then you leave. So more spaces like that, I feel like, are definitely needed, and I love that you're doing that. Is it solely in New York for now? Is there plans to expand?
Yeah, it's solely in New York for now. I mean, we just wrapped up our second event, which was like a girls' night in. It was right before Halloween. We watched like our favorite Black TV shows and like, but like Halloween specials. So we watched like Two Girlfriends Halloween episodes, things like that. And it was really fun. We'd love to kind of expand, but we're starting small but mighty. And yeah, just continuing to grow our community.
Oh, that's so amazing. Inspired.
Yeah, I would definitely be down to go to one in LA.
Yeah. I'm even down to travel to New York. Like, let us know. We'll hop on a flight.
Okay, I'll definitely send you guys the invite for the next event. But I mean, LA is not so far-fetched. The girls are always like, we're always traveling to LA. So you never know. Could definitely happen soon.
Yeah, especially being in a major city, all these like, especially like these branding events, they're typically in like New York, LA, and Atlanta, and things like that. So that's always nice that there's some synergy there for sure too. Yeah.
I just wanted to know more about, like, did you have an opportunity to be in Puerto Rico a lot? Like, what was that like, if you were able to visit often?
Yeah. I did as a kid. I haven't been back in a really long time. Honestly, my great grandmother passed away. She was sort of like, the root of the family. She never wanted to leave Puerto Rico whilst, everyone else was flying everywhere else and moving, Florida, New York, Boston even. But after she sort of passed, the family hasn't really been back there because a lot of them have moved away. They now live in like Florida or, like I said, New York. And so we try to see each other as much as possible. But, it's kind of like the grandparents are always like the core of the family. And so I haven't been back, but I can't wait to take my daughter and like build new memories. And so, we were actually thinking about, for her like first birthday, us all making like a huge family trip there and being able to celebrate in that way. So I'm excited.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I went a couple years ago, and I just got to walk around and go to the museums and stuff. I loved it. So yeah, and the food is so good. The food is
The food is amazing. The culture is amazing. Just the music, everything. There's nothing like waking up on the weekends and your mom is cleaning and blasting salsa music. It's the best. So yeah, I definitely miss Puerto Rico and I can't wait to go back. I think I vacationed probably like 3 years ago, but it's different when you vacation versus like when you go visit your old family house, and it's different.
Yeah.
Oh. And I did see too that one of your newest clients for your agency is like a first gen like Latin brand. Um
Oh, Biscaya.
yeah, how's that been working with them and um
They're amazing and their seasonings are so, so, so good.
yeah.
I haven't worked with them in a few months. I was working with them prior to being pregnant, but they're such an amazing Latin food brand, really bringing authentic flavors to your supermarkets. They're based out of LA, so if you ever see them in, your local grocery store, grab them up.
Mm.
But yeah, it's amazing to just always connect with brands that feel really authentic and true to who I am. And I was really specifically helping them with their brand tone of voice on social. And so they were able to really grow in the first year of working with ETA Consulting. And so, like I said, whenever you can sort of bring that authenticity and really understand a brand from a consumer point of view, it just makes it all that much like successful and meaningful. And so yeah, they're definitely an amazing brand. Check them out. Biscaya, they're so so good.
Ooh, okay, wait. I want to definitely cook more in 2025, so I will definitely be checking them out for sure. And LA is a perfect place because just like New York and Miami, there's a strong Latin community here too.
Mhm.
Nice. Okay, so this has been lovely. Let's get into talking about just the future of PR, especially for young professionals getting into PR. What are some
Mhm.
things that you are noticing that's changing in the industry that you would advise them to kind of jump ahead of, or just to kind of be
Yeah.
steps ahead?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to be creative. I think, especially for this space, so many brands are sort of looking to see how you think creatively and out of the box. And so, anytime that you can create a deck or a presentation, or even with social media, I'm able to kind of always lean on that as like a digital portfolio of how I think, has been really useful in speaking and working at different agencies and brands. And so I would say kind of always have that in your back pocket, create a deck that kind of shows how you think, analytically, either on social, creatively, in the marketing space, to sort of be able to back yourself up, and show that creativity to anyone that you're sort of talking to or connecting with. It's definitely been very, very helpful. And I think we're just entering more of a digital age. And so, yeah, keep that in mind.
I love that. That's an awesome gem. Well, gems, what other gems did you pick up throughout talking to Takara that you want to highlight?
Oh, yeah. I'll say creating your own opportunities. I think
Oh, that
nothing
was
in
a
this
good one.
life is promised, given to you, so it's really up to you to like make what you want to see out into the world and share it and just put yourself out there and just like make sure that whatever it is you have that you are working towards, that you can connect the dots and just really just hustle to get what it is that you need from your resources and your community.
Yeah, 100%. I reached out to you guys, and so creating my own
Yes.
opportunities. This was my first podcast ever.
Well,
I hope I did okay.
yeah.
This was amazing. Like,
No,
yeah,
this is great. This is great for sure. Yeah, I think the gem that I picked up on, and it just busts the age-old myth that all publicity is good publicity. I really like that you highlighted that and you said that, that's not necessarily true. And you also highlighted the fact that it's good to just communicate your boundaries when it comes to working in this field. And not
Yeah.
every project is going to be something that is beneficial to work on or to touch. So I thought that was insightful. And yeah.
One of the things that kind of stuck out to me was you said don't be afraid to be creative. And I think sometimes, especially like for someone like me, I have ideas all the time and I just get overwhelmed and I just don't do any of it. But I think when you talked about just putting yourself out there and just seeing like how it goes, like I think that's where it starts pretty
Yeah.
much. So yeah.
Yeah. I always say too, there's like two sides to the space. Like you can kind of choose to sit behind your computer and go to your 9 to 5 and, work at whatever agency. but I knew that like I kind of wanted to be a voice for other young Black women that were looking to get into this space. And so I wanted to kind of take that step further and kind of share everything that I do on social media. And so that creativity has really landed me so many more opportunities. And so I'm grateful for it. And I definitely, urge other women to sort of step into their creativity and their creative bag, because you never know where it can take you.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, I did have one more question in terms of PR
Oh.
moves for the first gems. I know we usually do the gems last, but I'm really curious to see kind of from an outside perspective, what like opportunities that we can Elaine that we could create from ourselves, because we don't have PR background and we're still like trying to figure all of everything out. So yeah, what PR moves would you suggest for us as the first gems?
Yeah. If I was on the First Gems podcast PR team, I think I would create like merch. Like, how cool would it be to have like First Gems, like a card game for like dinner parties, or like to hang out with your family or friends, where you're able to kind of share like your journey, like your professional journey, or like speak from a first generation lens and like relate to each other. I think that that could be really fun, like a cool card game. Um, Also, maybe like a coffee table book where you're able to drop all of the gems from the guest on your show. And maybe you do it in seasons. So, like, season 1 is in a book with all the guest gems in there. And, you can make the book really cool. So that way everyone kind of want it at home.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's good. You got a Cash App or Zelle? How do we pay you? Well, that was
I think that'd be so cute.
yeah, that's awesome. Like, I love that. I definitely love that. Yeah. So thank you to Takyrah for joining us here today on the First Gems. It was absolutely a pleasure getting to know you, getting to know what you do, and picking up the gems that you had to drop for us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Where can people find you, like on social?
Oh, you can find me at Takyrah J on Instagram and TikTok. And yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. This is, again, my first podcast. So super fun to kind of do it with you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Thank you.